Welcome to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show, and thank you for being with us. Our topic, leadership, focuses on leaders such as yourselves. We believe that leadership is a skill that can be learned through practice and awareness. It is our hope that our conversation will help you become more reflective when it comes to your own leadership practices and enable you to leave a positive legacy. Our very special guest tonight is Laura Fredricks. Laura Fredricks, JD, is the billion-dollar Ask Maker powerhouse, who as CEO and founder of The Ask, trains and coaches people, nonprofits, and businesses on how to ask for money and more of it. She is the first to combine the most trusted professionals, law, and philanthropy to show how any person, charity, or business can raise money to unprecedented levels. For over 27 years, she has advised organizations around the globe on current trends that impact and influence the nonprofit and for-profit world. Her 5 books, including The Ask, are the international industry leading go-to guides. Her latest book, The Ask for Business, for Philanthropy, and Everyday Living, just came out of this October 2017 and has sold close to 1,000 copies. Laura is today's money wellness expert and media personality. Her asking strategies for better living have been featured in Shape, Women's Health, Self, Huffington Post, The Wall Street Journal, and landed on the cover of the Bridal Guide, How to Ask Your Way to Your Destination Wedding. She has been interviewed for Anderson Cooper 360, ABC News, and Fox America's Headline News. Laura was honored to receive the Association of Fundraising Professionals New York City chapter's highest award for Lifetime Achievement in Philanthropy and the New York Nonprofit Network's 50 over 50 Award for Excellence in Media and Philanthropy. On September 14, 2018, she will be a featured speaker with Hillary Clinton and the co-founder of Vera Bradley, addressing how women can empower themselves from the classroom to the boardroom. Laura is the chair of the board for the Cherry Lane Theater, the longest-running off-Broadway theater, an executive board member for Operation Homefront, and a lifelong volunteer for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Laura, good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be on.
Laura, you're the billion-dollar Ask Maker powerhouse and an expert on the Ask. Can you tell us more about the book that you wrote and what inspired you to write the book?
This is the 6th book I've written. It's the 3rd in the Ask series. This one is the Ask for Business, the Ask for Philanthropy, the Ask for Everyday Living. And the reason why I wrote it was because many people who want to develop their next chapter in life, whether that's to start up a new business or to volunteer or actually start their own philanthropy or have a better way of living, needed to learn how to ask. So I've evolved this last book into 175 ways that people can ask for themselves in 2 sentences and a question.
2 sentences and a question. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, give me an example, and I'll show you what 2 sentences and a question will look like.
So let's say if I wanted to ask for raising money for a non-for-profit, how would I go about it?
Well, let's get easier or more difficult. How about you want your children to do more at home?
Okay.
How about you want your boss to understand you? And the reason I bring up these examples is because a lot of times people take a look at the book and they think, oh, this only applies to raising money, this only applies to getting a job, and on and on. But this applies to every single thing you do on a normal basis every single day. And that's the examples I like to use. And that's, what do you do when you want something more for you, or you want something to be creative or spiritual or to have fun or more out of life? What does that look like, and how do you make that ask?
So I read your book, and I know that in the book you talk that the most important ask you will do is actually asking yourself.
That's correct.
Could you tell us a little bit more about, I believe that you have 3 questions that people should ask themselves before actually doing the ask.
Why me? Why now? What will it do?
So in your opinion, if we can answer these questions, can we do a better ask?
I think you can be better about feeling that you deserve what you're about to ask for, and that's a very different journey than just asking for something and anticipating whether or not you're going to get it, which is probably what most people thought they were going to get when they began to listen to your radio program here. It's like, okay, just give me the words, I'm good to go, on and on. But this is much, much more than that. This is really a big soul searching into what is it that you want, why do you want it, and what is it going to do?
Mm-hmm. And my next question is everyone, if you learn how to ask these questions, and let's say on the other end, the person that you're asking is giving you a no, do you think that you can turn that yes by being able to answer?
Always, because no one ever says no, this is it, it's over, we're done. People just say no, but the problem is no one really understands the why behind the no. So the only question they should be asking is, thank you for your time. This is important to the both of us. To the extent you feel comfortable, can you explain the reason why? There we go. 2 sentences and a question.
Got it. So no is never a no. It's only not right now.
It's no can be a no. If you hear no, never, I never want to see you, goodbye, that's it. But I've never heard that. It's possible it's out there, but I've never heard that.
So I worked in non-for-profit, and it seems that a lot of people have problem asking for money. And I know that the book is not about non-for-profit, it's about life. But thinking about non-for-profit, why do you think a lot of people are having problem asking for money?
Well, I don't think it's a nonprofit business or lifestyle. I think a lot of people have problems asking for money because they don't know what money means to them. It doesn't matter what they're asking for. The core value in between is, what does money mean to you? I've been involved in the business arena, I've been in nonprofits, and I've been in the lifestyle area. And I can tell you that the number one reason why people don't ask is they're so fearful of the response they're going to get. And the only reason you're fearful of the response you're going to get is because, especially for money, you just don't know what money means to you, or you project what money means to the other person. You make assumptions, which are horrible, and it holds you back.
So are there people that are really good askers, in your opinion?
Yes.
And what are the qualities?
They have a very good relationship with money. They know what they're about to ask for. They deserve. And it's not that they're aggressive. It's not that they're relentless. It's just that they're committed and they're all in.
So committed meaning learning about the other person more to what might be their inclination to give them a yes?
That is part one, but also they're committed in knowing what they're asking for. And committed doesn't mean you have to know 900 pages and divulge it all. Committed means you have a clear, succinct roadmap of what it is you want, why me, why now, what will it do, and this is your number one priority and your number one passion.
So I know that in your book you talked about 10 characteristics of a good asker, and we mentioned that a little bit before, but can you actually tell us what are those 10?
Well, I'm going to say that's on my website. Everyone can go to www.expertontheask.com. In fact, anything you want to find is expertontheask.com. And for people listening, 10 is a lot to listen to, and you can find them all there. But I'm going to say that the 10 best characteristics are, again, knowing why you want it, is this a priority in your life, and what is it going to do? And that is the best advice I can give anybody. I mean, the other 10 are listed in there. That's good, and they help you. But really, things have gotten so refined. We're like in a 140-character world where people don't even write okay in a text message. It becomes K. And I'm not trying to be short about the importance of what anybody wants, but I am being very clear that less is more. And if you're very clear about what you want, you know why you want it, what it's going to do, and that's a priority, you have to be very succinct in how you say it and how you ask for it.
So you had a very interesting career. You started as a lawyer. Then
I've had 8 careers. It's been marvelous, and everything has brought me to this point.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how you evolved into this particular book? You know, I know you wrote many other books prior to this.
No. I started out as a journalist for Newsweek magazine, but I knew I wanted to be an attorney. So I went to law school, and I thought I was going to do communication law. I got the job with the FCC, but at the time they were downsizing, and that was a little bit of a shock to me because I had a job at the FCC, and there you go. So I had the opportunity to clerk for a judge, and that opened my eyes to doing civil litigation for the Attorney General's office. And then I began immediate responsibility defending the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and anyone who worked for it, the state employees. And I was winning a lot of cases because I was asking the right questions. And I was up against some very, very powerful and prominent law firms. And then I began to realize, wow, you know, this is important stuff. And then I was very active with the Bar Association because I was at the Philadelphia Bar Association. I was on their Bar News Media, always the journalist committee, and they had a foundation that raised and distributed money to community legal services. So that's how I transitioned into philanthropy in the early 90s. And then began working at Temple University, Deborah, Pace University, writing books about the organization process and focus that you need to raise money. And then the last 10 years, I've been doing consulting for businesses and nonprofits worldwide. And just the last book, I kind of put it all together to show that what we do here applies to everything. There is no difference between asking for a nonprofit, asking for a business, or asking for yourself. There is absolutely no difference.
So it always comes from the same source, I guess, from the same person. So if you were to summarize for us, what would be your guiding principle when it comes to ask, or guiding philosophy behind
Own your ask.
Meaning that we need to know exactly what you said before, what we want to ask.
Exactly.
I know that you also have, we talked a little bit about a book, but I know that you also have an upcoming boot camp.
I do. That was interesting in promoting the last book. I was speaking actually at the Cosmopolitan Club here in New York City. And afterwards, a bunch of people who I did not expect came up and said, can you do one day? We all are developing ideas. We're all developing businesses. Can you just do one day and put it all together? And it's something I never thought about because, you know, having 8 careers, you actually do put it together. You brand yourself. I'm proud of the fact that you can find me anywhere, but there's total semblance. I mean, it's not like I left law, I brought it with me. It's not like I left philanthropy, I brought it with me. It's not like I started media, I brought all the stuff with me. So in 2 days, I created this amazing day. I'm very excited. It's October 27th, Saturday. It's here in New York City. It's at the Scandinavian Center. Everything's on my website, expert.theask.com. And I just called a bunch of friends that I said, let's put together a day that people can have, which normally would take about 2 years to get. So in the beginning, I have me, all the questions you need to ask yourself and others when you want to build or enhance a business, about who you want to partner with, who you want to expand internally, and then who you want to have as your investors externally, who you ask in priority order. It's a step everybody steps over because they'll go to their parents and their grandparents and their cousins, and all that's fine, but is that what you want to lead with? People start with crowdfunding. Is that the way you want to lead with? So we'll do that. Second part is I have my financial person. I love her, Sarah Ricca. She's from Morgan Stanley. And it's not your typical what you think when you hear Morgan Stanley. She will show you how to pay yourself as you build and enhance your business and how that business is incorporated in your personal business plan, which is awesome. And then the third, which is something I've done, but no one showed me how, and here we have it. I've got Eric, who branded Moleskin, all the day planners you see, and he's going to show you how you brand everything you've done up to this point so that you are seamless, so that it doesn't matter if you think you were just a mom at home and now you created the best thing. You don't leave what you did behind, you bring it with you. So we're going to do that. And the afternoon is my serial entrepreneurs who, have made it big time in real estate, health and wellness, beauty. I have a venture capitalist who also coaches venture capital people, and Forbes top pick of best of 25. So it's all day. It's 8 to 4. We go straight. Of course, you can take breaks if you want. I will have multiple healthy foods. But I'm very excited about this because I think people just need this in a quicker format. You need access to people who can help you on your journey. And I wish I had this actually 4 years ago. But the nice thing is, when you surround yourself with the best, people step up to help you. And everyone did this. And honestly, we put this together in 2 days. And it's October 27th, and it's great. So we want everybody to come, and just go to expertontheS.com. Registration's right there, and it's great. So I want to give a shout out to your listeners. There's a promo code. If you use the promo code, and it's just FRIENDS, FRIENDS, all small caps, you can get this Laura's Entrepreneurial Boot Camp for $249 as opposed to the $325, which most people have paid for.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Just going back to branding, I think a lot of people are wondering how they can turn their brand into actually how they can monetize their brand. And I know that you're very specific with your own brand, and I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, branding is just a massive issue. And, as I said, up until doing what I did, I've had like 8 brands because I've had 8 careers. And it's very tempting to leave behind that stuff and say, no, I'm this now. But, in the world of like Google's like 2 seconds away, people are going to look at you and say, are you real? Is this a hobby? Is this whatever? So I think it's very important that you align yourself with the right branding masters, and I did, who can just take and say, it opened up my eyes. And, the point is that who better than Laura to combine the 2 most trusted areas, which is philanthropy and law, to show you what you can do with your life going forward. And I was like, I had never thought of it. My temptation was to leave law behind because what does civil litigation have to do with what I got here? And I realized it had everything to do with me getting here. I can help people. I can think clearly. You can fill warehouses worth of documents. I can find it. I'm the supreme negotiator, but best of all, I can ask the right questions and coach you how to ask the right questions so that you can get what you want.
And one thing that truly rings to me is that you are able to, and I could be wrong about this, that you are able to reinvent yourself.
You constantly have to assess, which I like. It's assess, reinvent, assess, reinvent. You have to take your poll, and your pulse. What are people talking about? Whether they're 14 or 94, what's going on in their life? What matters to them? And then where do you fit within your goods, products, or services that's going to help this diverse community? And I think too many people just have their head in the sand saying, I've got this, it's the best thing, no way it's going to fail, blah, blah, blah. But they're just not talking and listening. And I have a wide scope of people that I constantly tap and talk to and say what it is. And today, right now, early September 2018, the world changes hourly. And unless you're on top of everything, just think about people who are startup companies and they're having all their products made in China. And then that's great. But what if this tariff thing goes larger, whether you're pro or con, doesn't matter. What if it goes larger and you're shut down? Where's your risk assessment? You've really got to start thinking about the larger picture, not just what you have is going to fly.
That's a very good point. Sometimes people, obviously, we talked on the show with the previous guest about going back to reinvention, and some people say, I'm afraid to do it. I don't have support from my family or community because it is quite difficult to think about that and to actually start doing it. What are your suggestions and what advice can you give to these folks that might have fear towards reinventing?
Again, you have to own it. So if you don't own it, you're going to let fear come in. If you own it, there's no fear. Now, there's always going to be people that doubt you or always try to question you. But if you own it, all that disappears.
You mentioned that you are a master negotiator. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Well, I've had a lot of practice. I mean, I've been an attorney for a number of years and very young, in my 20s, and having to deal with the city, state, feds. One of my huge cases was placing 462 people in the community with money, medication, and services. If you're in the New York area, you remember Willowbrook, and ours was the equivalent of Byberry, which was back then they called it a mental health facility, and they closed it, and this is what we had to do. And, it's not strong-arming, it's not being abusive, it's not yelling, it's just if you ask the right probing questions, you'll always get the right results. It's like, why is this important? What does this mean? What's at risk? What do we do? And you become a partner as opposed to an adversary. And, I had that when I had a lot of trials, and people assume I'm going to stand up and just like scream, and I never did that. It's just like, let's explore this, and did you see this? Did you do this? Is this what your thought process was? And when you're very kind to people and just ask the right questions, you will always get the right results.
Interesting. So what I'm hearing, be kind, ask questions, be curious, and that possibly will bring the results that you're hoping to get.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you know what you want. Everybody does. But think about it. You stand in line and you're ready to board a plane, and they tell you there's a mechanical failure, okay? And there's no plane that's available until like the next day. What do people do? They start screaming, they line up, and here's a person trying to reticket people to their convenience, right? I guarantee you, and I've lived through this, having traveled internationally, the screamers get nothing. The person who says, how's your day? I'm here to help you. This is what I'd like. Can we work on this together? They're going to get seated on this plane.
So, Laura, this show is about leadership, and I was wondering if you can tell us any traits that you think leader needs to have to be a truly successful leader.
You have to think of yourself as the leader of leaders.
Okay.
And I've led teams of 35, 40, 2, 1. It doesn't matter the size. What matters is what you bring. And my motto is always you have to be the leader of leaders, which means you have to do your work. And that is, you have to read up on it. I do lots of podcasts. I talk to people 14 to 94. Age does not make you a leader. I know plenty of 14-year-olds who could probably lead major companies. And you have to think about, what it is that are your true values that you want to instill. Big name now is culture. What's the culture? What's the culture? Well, if you don't set the culture, no one's going to set the culture. It's going to be set for you. So you have to be the leader of leaders, and that's my motto.
So going back to setting a culture, sometimes you walk into an organization and culture is pretty dense in terms of how they want.
Oh, I've had that all the time.
So
It's yours to make. You sit there and say, today's a new day. Right now is a new moment. We go forward. Nothing ever happened in the past. We leave it behind. And if you're a leader, that's what you do. It's your day. It's yours to set. You set the tone. You set the expectations. Gratitude, ethics. Ethics governs everything. Being appreciative, being a listener, which I think is a dying art, but being fair and honest. And if you can't do everything, you need to tell people immediately, and that's it. But you have to be the leader of leaders There's always going to be people who think they know more than you, who think that they've got it and can run around you. There's going to be people that think they can cruise. But if you are the leader, everybody, it's all boats rise. Everybody succeeds.
And what is your suggestion when you're dealing with folks that think they're running a show and they all got it?
Well, you got to get the reason. You got to get the reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be they were burned before, no one listened to them, they had ideas, they never got a promotion, they're stuck, their home life is awful. I mean, no one ever takes the time to say, what's going on? Why is it that you appear to be unhappy? And if you are happy, tell us.
Mm-hmm.
We all kind of marginalize these people or promote them, which is even worse, without finding out the why. And again, why me? Why now? What will it do? You've got always to get behind the why.
So as I mentioned before, I come from a nonprofit industry, and I would be curious to know, what are your thoughts when you deal with the board that is not on board with the leader that they hired to do the job?
Well, here's my thing about boards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? A, they're volunteers. I don't care what the size. I don't care if they're 5, 17, 20, 50. Okay? Mm-hmm. Boards. Take the best, leave the rest. Not everyone's going to be at the level you want them to be. And I learned this all from mistakes. Mm-hmm. I would go in, I would think everybody's got to be doing everything I want at the same time. That was a big-time mistake of mine. So what I do, and I do probably 2 board trainings a month, and that is we sit down with each person one-on-one, and we ask them their level of comfortability with fundraising. Mm-hmm. What do they like to do? When can they do it? And you bring everybody to their next level. And this characterization of a board that's not fundraising, it is, and you're looking at a conglomerate as a whole. Now, would you ever put your 5, 17, 50 major donors in one room and ask them for substantial money all at the same time? Of course you wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So you need to sit down one-on-one with each board member and bring them to their next level of comfortability and task they can do within the timeline they can do it in. And that is the ultimate success for a board.
So do you think that executive director is responsible for board to be successfve in what they're supposed to do?
Everybody needs outside help. Listen, mm-hmm. I worked at Temple University, Pace University, Deborah Hart and Longman. I've consulted for 10 years, and I can tell you it doesn't work until you have an outside to help you, because I couldn't do it when I was doing it. You've got so many tasks, especially if you have the title executive director. You are strapped north and south, and you need an outside facilitator. And I'm not sitting here promoting consultants, but I'm telling you that's why you need them, is because they know the best that's been around, and board members actually listen when they have outside eyes.
So hiring outside person to...
It's very important. Mm-hmm. It's worth the investment. I did when I was in that position as vice president, always. Because I know these people are very astute business people. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you sit at home and balance a checkbook. You're an astute business person. Mm-hmm. They will listen when they have a person from the outside who's seen it all, as opposed to looking at you and judging you by the culture of that organization.
Interesting. So they need a fresh set of eyes.
They do. They do.
So going back to teamwork, do you believe that great leaders are also a good managers?
Not always. Mm-hmm. There are people that like to lead. I mean, in the world, I think the perfect yin and yang, the perfect balance, is someone who can lead and also do whatever job needs to be done. So if it's lead and raise money, boy, that's a big skill. Mm-hmm. If it's lead and raise money, and do profit sharing and growth, that's another thing. Mm-hmm. But generally, especially people, I think there's so much turnover in business and nonprofits because they don't get that question answered. Mm. What is the most important thing to you? Manage these people, which could be a lot, or lead the organization until its next capital growth. I mean, what is the priority here? And priorities is one of my favorite words. People don't, again, back to what I do, people just don't ask the right questions. They make assumptions, which is going to kill them in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
Ask, what is the priority here? What would you like me to focus on? And can we every month revisit this, my favorite word, revisit,
mm-hmm.
to make sure that's the priority of the month?
So by asking, you can't possibly get everyone to agree on the same.
You can get everything you want just by asking, but people make an assumption that they know what it is,
mm-hmm.
and they did. That's why I built my whole career on the ask, and it's so important. It's, small things, mega transformational results, but if you know how to ask it in the right way, you're going to save yourself light years of aggravation, and you will get light years of satisfaction.
So for the folks that are afraid, and I know we talked a little bit about the book before, but I just want to go back to it for the folks that are afraid to ask. We all come from a different cultural backgrounds, different way we are brought up. What do you say to them?
Well, I get this a lot because I've been in different countries, and I'm here to tell you, in all the countries I've been to internationally, that country is thriving in some aspect,
mm-hmm.
or they wouldn't be in existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care where you are, something's happening somewhere. And it's not that people are stealing money, and it's not that it's pure greed. Someone at some level is asking people to be loyal, to be allegiant, to give, to do whatever. And that's why I like the power of the ask. Because no matter where you are, and this book is not just asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
It's asking for anything. It might be asking for a volunteer army. It might be asking for a volunteer Army Corps of volunteers for blood banks. It could be anything. But this is what this is all about. And it's not about expectations. Mm-hmm. It's not about assumptions. It's not about, demanding. It's about asking in a way that's inviting and gets real results. Mm-hmm. And after 27 years, I can tell you, you're going to get real results.
Because you're going to be able to ask the way the people can hear your ask.
Very simply, and I've kept this very
mm-hmm.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
And your tone is important. It's all in the book.
So I know that definitely we're going to tell people how to buy the book, because I think the book made a
Everything
huge difference.
is expertontheask.com.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to the website.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to buy it there because you have the option. You can buy it Amazon, Barnes
mm-hmm.
& Noble, whatever you want,
mm-hmm.
but you get extra content. I purposely put it on there so it'll be available to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a game changer for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an important resource for life. And it's ageless. I have examples of 14-year-olds in there, and people who are more senior than that.
And there's some great stories and lessons.
Yes.
So do you mind sharing your favorite story and lesson from the book?
Well, I want to give it all away, but the last chapter was a real eye-opener for me, and that was, I have seen and I have heard and I have watched and I have witnessed and I've listened that the most difficult asks are ones you make of yourself. To be forgiven, to ask for more time, to ask for more time in a relationship, to ask your, parents to be. You just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in the last chapter that this one was going to be the game changer. And I realized how difficult it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
So probably why I wrote the book, and my story is in there in the last chapter. And I'm hoping that it will have people see themselves in it and realize, yeah, you could look at me, I could look at anybody and look at their career and say, oh, of course she can do this, of course she can. But I want them to read it and to see it and to understand that I'm no different than anybody else. And, asking for myself at critical times was extraordinarily difficult for me.
And what I liked about the book, because it made it very personable,
Yes.
And I think that was one of for me personally, was a great, exactly what you said. If she can do it, I can do it too. So
yeah. But it's important that you share.
Mm-hmm.
And, I learned that because I used to speak a lot,
mm-hmm. and
I still do. But when I spoke, people would come up and say, yeah, but Laura, we're not you. And I never knew what that meant. And I'm like, I'm 5'2". I'm like, here I am, and
mm-hmm.
I've had 8 careers, and you're still following me, and you're great. And they're like, Laura, but we're not you.
Mm-hmm.
And what I heard in that was, we don't have your words and we don't have your confidence. And so what I got to always speaking about was, I learned this all the hard way. I mean, I made multiple mistakes. It cost me whatever. It just didn't come overnight. But what I'm sharing with you, I know works. And so rather than just starting at the end and giving all the stuff, I started at the beginning and said, this is how I got here, and this is why it's important to me, and this is why I've dedicated my life's work to sharing this, is because if I can help you now, you can fast forward and be as successful as you want.
And I think you're bringing up a really good point about sharing, because not everyone knows how to share well.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good point. That's a good point. I did not. I just thought giving you information was what people wanted. But what they wanted was the story behind it. And that's what this book is all about. It's the story behind it. Like, how did you get here? Sometimes I turn around myself and said, I don't know how I got here. But, in writing the book, it kind of all revealed itself. And it's more than a book. It's kind of like a personal memoir. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that.
When someone knows how to share well, we say that person is a good communicator.
Yes.
My question is, do you believe that communication is a key to effective leadership?
It's number one. It's number one. I'll never forget, I was so excited when I was at Temple University, and I was the AVP, and I was going to get the VP job at Pace University here in New York. And I love the question the president asked me, how will we communicate and how often? And it stunned me, because I just thought, well, whatever you want, I'll do. But what he was saying was, I want to know what you want, so we're in sync. And I took that back with me. And so whenever I've led teams or I lead boards or I help clients and on, I'm like, how do you want to communicate? When do you want to communicate? And in what vehicle? And I learned that very early on, and that's so important. If you can't communicate, I don't care how much they're in love with you, left and right, you've got nothing. And so many people, I think that's why we have high turnover in any job right now. They don't, again, ask the right question of, when and if I accept this job, how do we communicate? In what manner do we communicate? And how often are you available?
Yeah, and I completely agree, because if people perceive you as being non-communicative, you can suffer from not getting a raise. People can think of you.
I have an expression. How they treat the process is how they're going to treat you. And in your honeymoon phase of getting the job and on, if you don't ask these questions early on, here we go. You're going to go into expectations and assumption land. And those two things are going to kill you in your career.
So you are a woman leader who led many teams, helped many organizations. And I was wondering, what advice do you have for women leaders?
Believe in yourself. This is my thing. Just get gender neutral. Don't get hung up. It's a female, it's a male thing. It's very easy to go there, especially with everything that's going on right now. And I'm not saying that, I want as many female leaders as possible. But when you lead and you're the person, you're going to get recognized. Now, I know there's stuff out there. And I know there's backlash. And I get it all. I've been through it all. But all I can say is, if you own your space and you own your ask and you know what you want, just treat it as a person and watch what happens.
So treat every person as a person.
Just you're a person. You're going to lead this organization, business or philanthropy. You're going to lead it. You're going to do it. And listen, I've had many leadership roles very young in my career, but I always treat it as, I know I'm the best. The only competition you have is yourself. You don't have any other competition. It's yourself. So just focus on you and get off that other stuff. Now, if you didn't get the job, or things are very evident that it's not going your way because they want a man in that position and on, Go back to my mantra. How they treat the process is how they'll treat you. So maybe it's a time for you to withdraw because you're not getting where you want to go. Okay? So you need like an assessment. You need to figure out when you need to pivot, shift. This is not for you. That's it. Don't take the job and say, I'm going to make it happen and get disappointed. Pay attention to the process. And if it's not for you and you're not getting what you want, withdraw. I mean, it is not worth it. It's not worth the money they're going to give you. It's not worth anything. Pay attention to the process.
And I really love that because most of my friends would say, I'm going to get it and I'm going to make it happen.
Oh, yeah, we all are. But then we start blaming things. They've shown you who they are. It was yours to turn down. So you're not going to change them. They've been there this way. Nothing changes. Pay a careful attention to words and body language. This is what I do in my classes all the time. What are they saying? What are they not saying? More importantly, what questions didn't you ask that got you into this mess?
So you mentioned body language. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, take a look at what are they doing? Are they picking up a notepad, crossing their leg, going back and on? This is all a great time, and you're sitting there going, okay, I'm getting fired at these questions. Is that who you want to be involved with? Or do you want someone who leans in, takes a look at you in your eyes and says, you know what, this is going really well, got some things to iron out, you know it works well, you can feel it. But don't think, oh, it was just an interview and when I get there, they'll all be good. It's just we ignore so much.
No, I completely agree with you. We ignore it because we want something so much, so we try to turn it into something that it's not.
Right. So I just say, watch the process.
So any thoughts, I'm switching a little bit gears now, any thoughts on generosity and leadership?
A leader should be able to knock all the boxes, all the checks. Okay? I'm chair of a board, very proud of that. I'm on 2 other boards. And I can speak for myself. I'm just saying, I never thought if I do 3 of the 5, I'm good. I need to do all of it. Again, my motto is I have to be the leader of leaders. So if it's time, attention, generosity, rolling up your sleeves, figuring out a challenge, going through like reports that don't look so good, tweaking it, pivoting, going, that's what leaders do. And that's it, case closed.
Got it.
And you can't call yourself a leader unless you're willing to do all of that at any given moment.
So what you're saying to us, you have to take responsibility at any given moment for everything.
Well, if you consider yourself a leader, yes. That's not to say you don't listen to other ideas. I'm not saying that you're going to go in there and strong-arm people and say it's my way or the highway and we're going to do this. But if you are the leader, then you will listen, you will have suggestions, you will assess things, but you'll get it done until whatever needs to be rectified is, and whatever needs to be grown is grown, whatever needs to be pulled back is pulled back. But, that's what you do. That's the only way I know how to lead. Listen, when you're on budget constraints, you need to pull back. What do? When you need to do something, hire some people, do whatever, that's what you do. When you need to have honest conversations, when the staff isn't chugging along at your pace, the way you need to be on your trajectory, that's what you do. So it's the given. That's just what you do.
So what I'm hearing, you're a very action-oriented leader.
We're proactive 100%.
Any thoughts on how you stay humble while you lead others?
Well, I think here's my big message. If your ethics are in check, everything falls in place. The umbrella of life is ethics. Everything else teams down from there. So if your ethics are in check, you will stay humble. You'll stay true to yourself. You will be proactive. Humble doesn't mean you're reactive. Humble doesn't mean you're less than being proactive. Humble means that you're not going to let your ego get larger than life and say to people, it's my way or the highway. Okay? So humble is, I think it's, gotten a bad rap as a word, but being humble means you're just very secure in what you're doing and you know the direction. You're going to be gracious as you deliver it, and that's it.
So basically, you're going to maintain your own sense of self while you
Exactly.
lead that.
Exactly.
Again, we are circling back a little bit on the ask and communication because I strongly believe that that's part of the leadership. What are your thoughts on clarity and curiosity when it comes to leadership?
Both are important. Both are important. I mean, unless you continue to explore and listen, as I said, listen to people 14 to 90, 104, whatever, your curiosity will die down. You always need to know and reinvent and reassess. I mean, when you think about it, if no one's paying attention to Amazon and Netflix right now, all the talent search firms got a good lesson probably about 3 years ago when Netflix reinvented its whole company. And you're thinking, okay, they've got mega bucks now. They're going to pour into original shows. If you're a talent manager, you staff up big time to meet the demand for all their shows. And then there was Amazon Prime and on and on, and all the thousands of networks that came from there. But you've got to have your pulse on what's happening out there. And that's kind of the reason why I did this. I'm going to do this boot camp on the 27th of October is because I don't think enough of people keep their pulse on what's going on to know if their business is going to thrive. And again, I keep coming back to people, the thousands who are getting their products done in China. Is a trade thing going to affect them? I mean, 1 or 2 or 3 bad shipments and their entire company could be sunk. Think about it. That's it. If you're not keeping your eye on millennials, who will be your sustained base for years to come, they're not marrying, they're not buying, they're doing what? So if you're into the luxury home development, you might be great for the next 20 years, but where are you going to be year 30 if that's your concern, right? You just need to keep your pulse on this and see what's going on. And that's where your question of how do you stay curious? Always.
And how do you basically constantly are looking for the possible information and that you can...
Well, first of all, you have to be alive. You have to be awake. And with what we have accessible to us, it's virtually impossible for you not to be on top of what you need to focus on. It's impossible.
So some leaders talk about the impact of fake news on their organizations and companies.
You know, whether it's fake, whether it's real, whatever, you know what your message is, you know what you're doing. There's going to be constituents who believe in this and believe in something else. Take the best, leave the rest, just move on. And you're not going to persuade a mindset that's set. So you need to assess very quickly, is this a set mindset, or is this somebody who can be adaptive to a conversation?
And I guess that leads me to my next question is, what are your thoughts on how media affects the leader and how media actually impacts, leadership of a leader?
It depends on who the leader is and depends on what you want to be swayed. Listen, the media can make your case and you can be great, okay? Or the media can be unkind and then you need to double down and really do whatever. Depends on who you're leading, what cause you're leading, what mission you're leading, what company you're leading, and go from there. I mean, right now, I think all the people who are in the climate control area need to do a lot of outreach to say what these new EPA regulations might mean, okay? That said, if you're in the coal industry, you might say, hey, we're all good. That's why I say you need to have your pulse on what's going on, but simple messages. You don't need to go on websites and links and studies on. People want a simple message. This is what's going on here. This is what we stand for. Are you with us or aren't you with us? I mean, it's really quite simple, but gone are the days where we need to over explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. If people are just not going to listen, they're going to check out.
And what is your mission in life, Laura?
To have everyone ask so that they can have their best life possible.
And any final thoughts for us?
I think I've given them all. You've asked great questions. I just want whoever listens to this to really think about what it is they want in life the most and what is stopping them, and please go to the website. They've got great stuff, and we'd love to see you on October 27th. I'm very excited about this. It's something very different, very creative. I think it's something, even if you're thinking about a business, fine. If you think you're starting a business, that's great. If you have a business that's not going great, but it's just everybody, even if you don't say, I'm in a business, because I know a lot of people in nonprofits say, well, I'm not in a business. You're in the business of the nonprofits, and it might be your business to take this nonprofit to the next level. And so everybody on the planet's an entrepreneur in some way because you are developing something that's creative to your soul. And I just think the power of the ask can get you there.
Perfect. And one more time for the folks that came in a little bit later to the show, they can find the book.
Right on my website. It's the Ask for Business for Philanthropy, Everyday Living, and it's at www.expert, E-X-P-E-R-T, on theask.com. All social media is there. I'm not a person who goes crazy. I do have a Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram account, but I generally give some pretty important tips, and I think it'll help some people.
And you also have a channel, right?
I do.
Great.
Yep. I have a YouTube channel that's Expert on the Ask. Everything's Expert on the Ask. As you can tell, I've branded myself pretty well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And then one more time, the boot camp is
October 27th. It's at the Scandinavian Center, beautiful, right outside of Grand Central. It's from 8 to 4 p.m. Again, just go to the website, expertontheask.com. It comes right up. And for your listeners, just put the promo code FRIENDS, all small caps, and you get it for $249, not $325.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you too. It was great. It was great. I'm hoping this helps people because that's what it's all about.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show. Remember that you're all leaders in your own rights, and the impact that you're meant to achieve starts with small acts of kindness, curiosity, and generosity. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again, and until next time.